For this thing, I'll put this thing up here because I'm really just here to tell a little story about myself. I'm not an organization design person. I'm just an IT person. I'm just excited by zeros and ones. Light on, light off. That's how the computer works. So some people can really, you know, have all the lights but still be in the dark. So it's just about how you utilize it. And in my career, there were many, many times I was in the light, but I was in the dark in a sense, and I didn't even know that was the light because of how I operated, how I felt. I didn't know that I was best in that type of environment. The environment kind of created itself, and I just followed it and I was comfortable, but I didn't even know that it had anything to do with how those organizations functioned. So I'm here to just share a little bit about some organizations I've worked in, right from when I grew up as a little girl in the village, where the village operates by an organized community. And that's how we help each other, that's how everything goes next door and so on. So I wasn't able to really connect the dots, and in connecting the dots, it meant that I really operated with other people. When you are at work, you are working towards a common goal. And if this puzzle doesn't really fit, it feels out of alignment. And it's that alignment that we strive to be comfortable in. And we always, when we're at work, we work as a team. You know, we kind of like in an equal footing. You know, when you have a team, it doesn't really matter what it is. The thing is you huddle and you're all striving towards winning. And it's in that environment, that our work environment, nobody ever wants to fail. Nobody wants to lose a game. So in organizations, we all function as a team. And yet, you know, when we watch teams that perform and that perform well, we are always able to cheer them up and, hey, great, and all of that. And yet, the time we spent most is at work, and is there at work where we fail to do teamwork. We have all those organization structures and all of that, and sometimes we just sit waiting for the boss to tell me what to do, or waiting for some colleague that we didn't even tell that we were waiting for some outcome from them, because we're just following on this organization chart. I'm here and this is all that I'm supposed to do. Even when you feel that you can actually fulfill other things and help other people, you sit there and everything. So I'm just so glad that there are people who strive to see how they can kind of break. It's kind of like a curse, because we've grown up in expecting the organization to work a certain way. And we fail to really see these core values that are the ones that contribute towards a winning team. And these core values are that we want exceptional results. God knows what we do to try and get those exceptional results. We need to work smart. Working smart doesn't, mean that we come in. I'm consulting now, and I've seen an organization when I visit where people come in and it's all offices, and when they come in, they get in their office and close the door. And I'm walking around, I'm like, are these people here? You never know whether they're there or not there. And yet to them, they're working together somehow, and yet I'm like, why didn't they even stay at home to do whatever they're going to do if they're going to come to work and close the door? So there's no way in that particular case that they can be an inspiration to others. Winning teams usually inspire others. So you don't only take responsibility for yourself, but responsibility of others too, because if they fail, you fail. I'm sure there are some people who were here last year, and I shared this story some, because this is where I was really in the light, but I didn't know. I had an experience. I used to work for MCI Telecommunications. I worked for that company for 14 years. And one of the experiences that I had there, I was an IT manager for systems that were customer support systems and billing systems. And there was a time when the company was really going into the tanks. And during that time, the marketing people came and said, you IT people can help us. We have this idea, but we don't know how to implement it. And they started describing the idea that the idea was going to be, you know, when people call each other and somehow they get benefit from calling each other. And we're sitting there, how do you even implement this? The system can do this, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? The point is, it didn't really matter that those people were marketing people, whatever they were. We had a common goal, and the common goal was towards winning, towards turning the company around. And they had a vision, but the vision wasn't quite there. It was still maturing, but you could see the potential in it. And we had to somehow follow the vision and trust that that vision will win. And which is one of the things that most companies don't do. They don't allow people to fail. In this company, we were allowed to fail. But it was about what you were doing when you failed and what you really learned there when you did fail and what you can do about that particular failure. And there was that trust among team members. You know, you trusted that you are working towards this common goal, you are working towards this vision. And we all knew that we had to deliver a product, which is what we do in most of our jobs. We deliver products. And then we were driven to win. We're going to win no matter what. Just like the slide I showed in the huddle. They usually huddle, I don't know what they say, but I think they say, we're winning today. So that's what it was. And we kind of like just build this. Really, we agreed, and they started marketing this thing before the systems could even align towards it. And I remember there was a time when I saw on TV, I was about 7 months pregnant. You get up a lot, guys, in case you didn't know. Getting up at night, and there was the war in Iraq. And during the war in Iraq, it was the first time CNN would televise wars live. And it was a very scary thing. You're watching this thing. And then they would go to a commercial break. When they would go to a commercial break, there's this commercial about my company advertising what they called friends and family. Somebody, I'm Jaja Gabor, I live here, and I have friends in California, here. And then I'm Whoopi Goldberg. You know, they would come up with this commercial. And we don't have a system to do this. And I'll run in the morning, call my whole team. Did you see the commercial? This is what we're supposed to build. And the long story short is we actually built the system to do that. And we marketed it out to the people before the billing. We said, don't worry about the billing. It will happen. It's 30 days later. Give up. As long as the customer service product is working. And that's how we did it. And I'm just saying this to say it was a teamwork. I remember one guy who came to me for a performance review, and he didn't like the percentage that I had given him. He said, because you've given others 10% and you're giving me 6%. I'm saying, what's wrong with that? I said, I'm a better performer than that person. I said, how do you know that I've given other people 10%? It was when the web was starting. He said it was because he could see everything that I was doing every day. I said, what? That was really grounds for firing him. But then I thought, no, you can't really fire him. He's too valuable to fire. And I moved him from his position where he was a web developer to being a security person. I said, go look for people like you and stop them snooping around. So that's how I created the team to function the way it functions. And very often, when things like that happen at work with people, we always class them, and we lose very, very valuable people. So I was there, you know, from there to here. Where am I now? I'll tell you a little story about how I got hired into the position that I'm now. I'm an IT consultant There's a company here in South Africa called Data Tech, and that company has multiple other companies. There's a company they own in England called Analysis Mason, and I work with Analysis Mason and another, mostly Analysis Mason, called Logicalis. A friend of mine introduced, kind of passed my CV to the CEO of the company. He got excited. I got invited I was still living in America then. I got invited to an interview in Chicago. I go to an interview, is that CEO and the chief operating officer for the company, this other subsidiary of this. Interview lasted about an hour and a half, but 45 minutes into the interview, I think they decided that they were going to hire me. We spent the other 45 minutes strategizing with them about where I would fit. It wasn't because there was an open position. It was because they saw my resume and decided this may be a person we could use. Very often we class people into all those positions. What I was asked in the interview was, where do you want to live in the world? It really didn't matter where I lived. They knew they wanted to hire me because they're a global company. I said, well, I think I'll go back home. I'll go live in South Africa. Okay, how do you want to get paid? You know, all those things kind of formulated there. And they could do this because in their organization, they've put in place processes and procedures to build a virtual team that functions across the world. Seniority doesn't really matter. As long as you contribute to the bottom line and you have everything you need to contribute to the bottom line, they're interested. And that's how they've built the organization. The customer and the product, that's what we do. That's what we service. And that's how the organization comes. And so that enabled me to come full circle. From here to the US, I lived in the US 26 years and back home. And just because the company was able to do that. So they are designed, you know, that's why they said, where are you going to live in the world? Then I chose to live down here because they already had a lot of business in Africa. And yet they really didn't have any leadership in Africa as such. You don't mind traveling? No, I don't. My kids are all grown. You don't mind doing this? So they've decided to come and open an office here in South Africa. And I would be used to do that within the next year because the whole thing, they're focusing on what they can really provide for the customer, not what the person is and where they would fall in these structures where they are. I can work from anywhere in the world and still be able to function. So that's how they've been able to make their organization be more efficient. So I'm not an organization design person, but these questions are questions that I was thinking if I'm really to do the work and this is what things I would be thinking. You know, why do we build organizations? We build organizations to be able to deliver be it a service, be it a product, whatever it is, we build organizations to deliver. The main thing is we get so excited when we tell our friends, oh, I'm leaving, I'm going to be working in such and such a company. What are you going to be doing? Oh, that is just so cool. You're all excited from interview to when you get the job offer. 2-3 years down the road, I hate this job. You know, I mean, that's how most people are. And how those things happen is, how do we feel when we are operating in those things? How could you have had this big, big vision that you had that is going to be great, it's going to be the best job, and yet feel lousy? Do we allow ourselves to reach a potential when we do these designs? Do we enable people to be able to really reach the top? Our assets are the people. How do we treat them? How do we treat our assets? It's just like, you know, how do you treat your house? How do you know, you don't just throw it anywhere and it will take care of itself someday. You never come back and renovate, polish it, do whatever. And yet, in most organizations, that's what we do. And are they built to adapt for change? And it's like Bill was saying before, the methods that we design must align with the culture. The culture is what is going to drive. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not an organization design person, but this is what I wanted to share today about my experience moving along and really enjoying my life because the organization has allowed me to be who I am in delivering and being with the teams that I work with. Thank you very much.